everybody, Steve here, back in South Carolina, back home. My producer's pet telling me something here, the Ravishing Mrs. Ritter. Close the close the cabinet. Okay, she don't want to see that. Back in South Carolina, I've got a honey-do list a mile long, so I'm going to hurry up and get to it. Now, what are you shaking your head for? Now she's saying that I'm making her like she's putting me to work, which she is. I've got a whole lot to do. I've got to get out there. I've got to pressure wash the sidewalk. I've got to clean up because there's a hurricane coming again. I got to clean things up. I got to get things going, but I got to get dinner going too because I got a hankering for some chili. And the Ravishing Mrs. Ritter said, "Go forth, young man, and make some chili." So tonight the plan is slow cooker chili with some easy cornbread. You hear that sound? That's the magical sound of hamburger browning. So let's go take a look. I got 2 and a little bit more pounds of hamburger going there. What I'm going to do now is dice up some onions, and I'm going to get going. It's pretty simple. Throw it all in the pot. I'm going to show you what I put in mine, and then we'll see. So let me flip the camera around. We'll be right back. Stand by one. All right, first thing I'm going to do is dice up these onions. I got 2 white onions. Now, see this new knife here? I'm back home. I got my usual knives, but take a look real close here. I got this as a parting gift from the guys at work, guys and gal at work. Cooking with the Colonel. They had that etched in the side. They got my name on the back here and some tie writing. It's a funny story. Have to talk with you later about. Maybe. Probably not. Anyway, I'm going to dice these onions up. And what I'm going to do is while this hamburger is browning, I'm going to put these onions in there and dice it up with it. So I'm just looking to get a nice little brown on the hamburger. Doesn't need to be necessarily cooked up. Now, if you're really, really in a hurry, you can just toss that hamburger in slow cooker. It'll cook, but giving it a nice browning, gives it a nice taste. So dice these onions up and get them in that hamburger. And if I can ever get this off of here. All right, there we go. Dice these up real nice, hopefully without cutting my fingers off. Now, see this little technique here of almost cutting through? I'm going to try this out for the first time. Keeps it from flying all over the place. Nothing like a nice sharp knife, that's for sure. Dicing this up. This is going to go in the hamburger. So I get a nice... already cut my finger. I'm going to dice this up nice. Put it in the hamburger. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second. So stand by one. All right, back again. So got this hamburger brown. And I'm going to put a little bit of salt in here. A little bit of kosher salt with it. It's about a teaspoon or so. And I'm going to just let this slowly kind of brown up. I'll put the onions in with it. Now, hats off to the guys from work, because that knife is sharp. And I whacked my finger twice. And then the Ravishing Mrs. Ritter reminded me that we have an onion chopper. So to ensure that I finish this meal with 10 fingers intact, I'll use the onion chopper. So I only chopped up 1 onion. I put it in here, browning it with the hamburger. And the other onion I'm going to chop up and put it in with the chili as well. So anyway, brown this up. A little bit of salt with it, that makes meat taste better. And you can brown it to your heart's content. I like to not burn it, but you get a nice little browning here. Kind of get it all brown, pretty close. I'll finish chopping up all the other stuff. See if I can do this without whacking my fingers. So I've got a jalapeno, and I've got a red bell pepper. I'm going to wash this off. Chop this up. That's going to go in there. Usually I don't do red peppers. We're kind of jazzing this up a little bit. So now the big question is do you go with beans in your chili or not? And those of you from Texas, I'm sure are going to hear from you. that that's a sacrilege. Beans and chili. I don't know. I don't have the answer. Just make it the way you like it. The Ravishing Mrs. Ritter likes beans in her chili. So guess what? That's the way I'm making it. All right. So we had been busy here. We had to go get a new car because we sold/gave at highly discounted rate. My car that I drove here for years to my youngest son, Benjamin. You guys remember him. Not the cadet anymore. Now he's the ensign. He needed a car to get around doing his Coast Guard thing. I'm really trying to be careful here. I mean to tell you, this knife is sharp. And it's a good sign of a good knife because when it cuts you, you don't really feel it. The only thing I felt was part of my fingernail going off. So, yeah, really. That hurt. Well, no, it didn't hurt, which was even more disturbing. Never felt it, really. I just started seeing some blood, and I'm like, oh. So, you guys got the action-packed version of the meal today. Anyway, we went yesterday, picked up a new vehicle. So I'm now driving the older van that we had before, and Ravishing Mrs. Ritter is in a new vehicle. Got another Honda Odyssey. Like it a lot. It's a good car. We got 200,000 miles on that Honda Odyssey we got back in 2010. So we definitely got our money's worth out of it, and I'm still driving it now. So anyway, red bell pepper's going to go in. I'm going to finish chopping up these other onions, and I also got a jalapeno. I'm going to chop that up. Now, part of it I'm going to keep back for the cornbread. So I'm going to, part of the jalapeno, I've got a can of green chilies that's going to go in. Got the beans I'm going to drain and rinse and then put those in. I've got some whole tomatoes and I've got some crushed tomatoes. So all that's going to go in the crock pot. Crock pot Dundee has been left behind in Abu Dhabi. So now I've got my good old trusty crock pot here. And it doesn't really have hot spots in it, so I'm kind of digging it. So anyway, I'm going to flip it around. We're going to start dumping stuff in and getting going. So stand by one. All right, back again. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to assemble the chili together. So all the meat. Now, I had conferring with my producer, the Ravishing Mrs. Ritter. She thought that was too much onions. So I'm cutting it back down to just one onion. Bella. So chopped up onion, browned up with the hamburger. Just get it on. I'm not worried about this grease. It looks more like water. It's probably water from the onions anyway. So the hamburger meat was 85%. So hamburger meat goes in. Now I've got 2 cans of dark red kidney beans drained, and it goes. I've got 1 diced bell pepper, and it goes. I've got 1 large jalapeno. I'm going to put about half of that in. I'm going to save the other half for the cornbread. I've got 1 can of diced green chilies, and it goes. I've got 1 can of tomatoes. These are whole tomatoes, and I'll kind of mash them up as we go. Got a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. Looks good already. And now for the spices, I'm going to go 2 tablespoons of chili powder. See if I can get this in there. 2 tablespoons of chili powder, and you can go up or down with that. Usually I find that in the slow cooker, it leaned more towards not as much spice because as it cooks down, it'll intensify. Now here's one thing I do, that's Cincinnati chili maybe. That's what folks call it, but I always put a little bit of cinnamon in mine. So I'm gonna go, and a little cinnamon goes a long way. So I'm gonna go with about a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. And mix that up, top goes on. Should taste, since we browned the hamburger meat, it's all cooked. Not really concerned about cooking it to make sure that cooks through, but the water's going to cook out of the tomatoes, more out of the onion, so that it should have some more juice to it. I'm going to kind of mix all that together, kind of mashing those whole tomatoes up. You can add another can of tomato sauce if you think you need it, but I think I'll be all right with this. Mix that up real good, and as it cooks, I'm going to put it on high for 6 hours. And I'll check it, see how it's going as it goes, but it looks good. I like the green chilies in there. It gives it a nice little color. And this should make enough sauce and everything else. Okay. Top goes on. Let it, did I forget anything? Let me look. So yeah, I cut my finger pretty good there. See that? So anyway, all right. We'll check it again here in a bit. So stand by one. We'll be back. All right, chili's been on about 4 hours now. It's looking real good, smells amazing. I went ahead and turned it down to low. And now I'm gonna fire up some cornbread, because nothing goes with chili like cornbread. I don't make this from scratch. I like using this Jiffy corn muff mix. This is something you get at Walmart. We've used this for years, and you can kind of jazz this up, and this does just fine. I'm gonna make 2 boxes of this. So I'm gonna put 2 boxes in, following the directions. 1 egg and 1/3 of a cup of milk for each box. So 2 boxes means 2 eggs, 2/3 of a cup. Now what I'm going to do different, I'm going to make a batch for me, I'm sorry, for the Ravishing Mrs. Ritter and regular. Now she's willing to try some jalapeno cornbread. So I've got some jalapenos left over from the stuff I was using for the chili. And I'm going to try putting a little bit of that in the cornbread, and we'll try that, and we'll see how that goes. Loving being back in the kitchen because I got my tools, got my whisk, and I'm going to just kind of mix this around. Just spent all afternoon out there pressure washing the porch and getting get a lot of like mold, I guess, fungus grows on the railings here. Still pretty warm and humid. It's been I think it got in the 80s today in South Carolina here in Charleston. So kind of mix this till the big lumps get knocked out. Looks good. Gonna let it, put it in the pan, let it sit for a little bit. So for me, this is the batch I'm gonna go with the small batch. I'm gonna use my cast iron. Can't wait to cook with that again. Not really messing with greasing this up. I think it'll be all right. Famous last words, right? So I'm gonna put that in there, and then I'm gonna, because this is gonna rise, and I'm gonna put these jalapenos in here. Now, I'm gonna kind of mix this around in here a little bit. Hoping it's gonna keep it kind of moist. This cornbread's been pretty good. So oven's preheated to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. We'll see how this turns out. Now I'm gonna use obviously a lot of butter on this. I'm gonna get the other pan and make the other batch. This is my other pan here. And lots and lots of butter go on this because, man, everything's better with butter, isn't it? So just real simple. I don't use cornmeal to make my own cornbread or anything else. I probably will sometime, but I'm just glad to be back in the kitchen, back home. Got excited. Next week, we're heading out to, actually on Friday, we're heading out to San Diego. I'm gonna go see Nathan. I'm gonna get to see my granddaughters. And I'm gonna go see Eva, who I haven't seen in about 2 years. Oh, that's gonna be pretty thin. That's gonna be like a pancake, corn pancake. And I'm going to get to meet my granddaughter Eden for the first time. I'm pretty excited about that. So I'll pop this in the oven, 400 degrees for about 20 minutes or so. And yeah, 15, 20 minutes. Probably won't take that long. And it'll be about time to eat our chili. So we'll be right back for the taste test. So stand by one. All right. All done. The chili's all done. We've got the cornbread all done. Here it is. Looks nice. And let's try the first taste. So we're doing this over noodles. You don't have to do noodles. The Ravishing Mrs. Ritter wanted to do, who's filming right now, wanted to do the noodles, right? Here we go. So here we go. Try not to burn my mouth. Now, you can leave the cinnamon out. I like the cinnamon. It's a little bit of Cincinnati style chili. And if you're from Texas, you can leave the beans out, but I like the beans. All right, let's try the cornbread here. Let's the jalapeno. See the little flakes of jalapenos in there? It sounds nice. A nice taste. Lots of butter. So, simple chili in the slow cooker with some easy cornbread. Back in the kitchen, back at it. So, till next time, Sir Colonel Sam, over and out.